Welcome, Marina. It's wonderful to be talking with you, and I'm really keen to learn about how you discovered coaching as a profession.
Great, thank you. How I discovered coaching as a profession, it's quite a long story actually, so I'll try and keep it high level. I started out, I lived in California for a bit in the early 90s, and prior to that, I'd gone on a course about what makes people tick and why, in any circumstances, one person would act in one way and another person would act in a completely different way. And that sort of opened the doors for me, if you like, in the sense of personal development. Then I created an opportunity to go and live and work in California. And in the early 90s, if you think back to then, that a lot of people, if you were having coaching or going into any sort of therapy, there was something wrong with you. You're going to be carted off by the doctors. And so when I got out into California, and it was really at that time, I started out as a motivational speaker, but it was huge about you can create your own, make your dreams come true, you can create your own life and all those things. And so I went from being in the legal profession into, when I came back to the UK, a motivational speaker. And I moved from there to training with people like Steve Covey, with training with companies and different organisations, moved into facilitation and then coaching.
And what is it that draws you to it? What is it about the profession of coaching?
That you can massively make a difference. And without sounding too cliche, people can make their dreams come true. They really can. And they've got to kind of work out really what it is they really want. And then with a great coach and the development work you need, you can make it happen. So it's about making a difference. And I'm a good person to ask, I did it for my own life, where you really expand it out. And it's an amazing profession. I love coaching. It's all about making a difference to people's lives. That's what really drives and motivates me.
Not everybody has a dream that they can express overtly. So who is coaching for?
I think it's for everybody. And I've got to say, I've had people, particularly on Thrive, that have come to me that are really stuck. They're stuck in their career, they can't get where they want to go, or the company's changing, or the boss is changing, and their beliefs and their confidence is a bit low, because deep down, that's what a good coach can do actually. Deep down, subconsciously, people know actually what they really want and they know what their values are, but a really good coach will help them really get to understand what really drives and motivates them, and then really help them believe in themselves and give them the skills and the tools, etc., to get where they want to go. So it's very much about where are they now, where do they want to be, what can we do to help them get there. So even if people are a bit against coaching or don't know what they want, just sitting down with a good coach will really help open up their thinking. And I've got many examples of where that's happened, and then they've gone on to get what they want.
Yeah. So typically, if someone's not been coached before, what can they expect from a coaching conversation?
Yes, without sounding too cliche, and I can't help it, but I come out with these things. The deepest need of the human soul is to be understood. And what they love, everybody, I've never had it where people have gone, no, that didn't work for me. If you've got somebody there that's acting like they're just there for you, they're totally there for that person. And so when they get talking, they start to feel really understood and valued wherever they are in their life. It's fine, it's okay. But that's what they get from it in the first session. They go, gosh, I feel really empowered, if you like, or understood to start with. And then we start getting a bit clearer about, if you knew you couldn't fail, for example, what would you do? What drives and motivates you? That sort of thing. And so things start really opening up for them.
Mm. And if you think about the types of topics that people bring to coaching and how you said it, once people open up, how do you get people to open up to talk about the things that they want to talk about?
Because when people, let's just take, there's lots of different areas that people might come to coaching for. But let's say someone's stuck. I call it, a lot of people, including I can still get stuck. You know, I often say coaches don't arrive. We're still on the journey of learning and life. But when they come to you and they're stuck, once they get talking, the subconscious, without sounding too woo-woo, the subconscious and the conscious mind starts talking about, actually, this is what I really want, or this isn't what's working. And so we then talk about, well, what's the opposite to that? So, you know, that helps them to start thinking, actually thinking outside the box. I think a really good coach helps people get out of the stuckness and get into blue sky thinking, and then start to go, right, okay, what do we need to put in place, or what do we need to develop in order to get there?
So can I take us to that first session?
Yes.
And the client that comes and goes, I'm terrified. I've never worked one-on-one with anybody for anything. I'm feeling a bit like tongue-tied. I'm feeling a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive. How do you help create that safe space for them?
I mean, when you ask that question, there's two parts to this. I know how I do it is by really connecting with them. They just feel it. It's a sort of organic that you're really getting into their shoes anyway. So at an energetic level, they're starting to feel really understood. Sorry, Pam. Sorry. So they're starting to feel really understood. But secondly, if somebody said that to me, if they actually said that, I'd be asking them a question about what would need to happen now for you to totally relax and just feel it's all right. Because at the end of the day, I am totally here for you and I'm behind you. Wherever you are in life is absolutely fine. So I think that sort of conversation really helps get them very relaxed. I've never had it where someone hasn't at the end really got loads out of it, you know, just through being heard to start with on that first session, and starting to get clear about what are the objectives we want to get from coaching. What is it you want to get out of it?
So that would be one of the questions that you'd ask me if I didn't know what I wanted out of coaching, because I don't quite know what coaching is. What are the types of questions or things can a coach give me to think about that will help me become clear about the type of goal or challenge that I could work on in coaching?
Yeah, so we start to get them into a creative space and that they feel really understood. And then we'd move into, I might ask a question, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you love to do? And then it starts coming out. It starts to come out. So it's all done very organically. And I guess because I've got 30 years experience, you've got all these, you know, things in your, you know, that you can do, and it just happens organically almost. And you know, a lot of the clients now from all over the world, and we can have the language issues as well, a little bit about the words, but we still really get there. It's just an amazing thing.
Do you have to be in a certain stage of your life to benefit from coaching?
I don't think so. I mean, I've worked with youngsters. I've worked with, you know, there's the local school with the teenagers. You know, they don't know what they want to do when they get older and all those things. I think it can start at a really young age, actually. But in a sort of, you know, I sort of move away from we're going to fix you or we're going to do this. It's more about we're enabling them to get what they want out of life. And I know it sounds cliche, but I really know that for sure. You know, I've got an example of somebody that had, she was off work sick because the company had merged with another company. She didn't get on with her boss. She felt she was being bullied and all those things. She thought her life, you know, was like, came to a complete crash. And now I've got like a video testimony I can share with you that where she's saying, Marina just completely changed my life because she started to get the confidence, she started to believe in herself again. And we started to then get very much about what sort of career would be compelling for her. So you can take someone that's right down that end and bring them back. And you also get it as well with people that are quite burnt out at work. I've recently been working with a couple of surgeons. I won't go into it actually in a big way, but completely turn the whole thing around.
What are the typical type of topics or subjects that people bring to a coaching conversation?
Where they're stuck, you know, when they kind of want to get on, but they're feeling they're trapped. So the stuckness one, when there's a transition going on, they're going through a big transition, whether it's work or, home, or someone's died, all of those. So going through transitions and coming out of it more resilient. Also managing their career, that's a big one that I do a lot with people, about how they manage their career. Conflict management is another one, about how can we have the real conversations in a constructive way, and also how they manage their team, how to get the best out of themselves and their team. So there's some of the typical things, and also big choices. I've got someone now actually from Thrive who, her husband's moving, but she wants to stay here. It's all this sort of negotiation piece. But I'm very much into win-win. You can always come up with win-win solutions, ideally.
Yeah. And if you could put it into a couple of sentences, what is it that you love most about being a coach?
Making the difference to people's lives, helping them get what they want out of life and create a compelling future and have great relationships, and managing conflict well and be strong and resilient.
Mm. Mm. The aim of coaching is very appealing, isn't it? The ability for people to be able to put aside their apprehension and feeling that they might be judged, or that they might not be good enough, or that they might not have the ideas, or a feeling of vulnerability, is a real blocker to people being able to progress.
Yeah, and I, because that question comes up, doesn't it? And I just go, just try it. What's the worst that can happen? You just go, right, I don't want to, especially because it's online. Or just leave this meeting then. I'd say just try it, give it a go. There's no downside, because the coach is there for you, 100%. No agenda, none agenda other than helping them get where they want to go, or help them manage the current situation.
Yeah, and 30 minutes has got to be worth it for at least an exploration. It's not like you've got to go and sit in somewhere for a day and think, oh my goodness. A bit like the training courses of old days, where you'd sit and you'd think, I'd be lucky if I get one thing out of this.
Exactly, yeah, they'll get loads out of it. Everybody, I've never ever had it. You get people going, and I've got some clips on this, or we've got some clips on this, that are going, oh, I was really quite cynical. But actually, as soon as I engaged, I could feel I was going to get loads out of this, because I'm being really valued and heard, and that person hasn't got any agenda other than helping me get where I want to go.
Do you have a sense of how long it takes for someone to achieve that change?
Well, I think in the initial call, once they come on to, my experience is that people come onto a call with me and they'll want to progress. But this thing about measuring success. How do we measure it? That I think nowadays people want these quick wins, and there's so much, isn't there, on podcasts and different things out there that people, So I think that's something in the early stage, that we've got to go, for things to change. You kind of got to work on yourself a bit, as well as working with your coach and those things. So it depends if people want to put in the effort, if you like. But it doesn't have to be, like you say, in the old days, we'd be sent off on training courses. Now, in a half-hour conversation, you make these changes, they go out and do those things, and then they come back and go, yes, I'm ready for the next level. And occasionally you get it where, I'm not getting anywhere in this organisation, it's not going to work. Well, that's okay, because we then help them start expanding their opportunities, if you like. So if it's a career choice, then ideally they get promoted and help within the company, and we help them to do that. But if not, we'll help them create lots of opportunities, so they don't feel stuck anymore. They've got a few options, good options.
Some people are cynical about whether or not you can actually achieve anything in 30 minutes. What would you say about this idea of agile coaching?
Well, again, I'm not sure on the word agile, but I do say to people, I'm not a magician. We can't go, ta-da, I'd like to be, but we're not. So, in 30 minutes, as a result of sitting with somebody like me, within 30 minutes, they'll feel really heard, they'll feel really understood, they would have removed probably a little bit of the stuckness, and we'll be starting to get towards creating a compelling future, you know, that we can make these changes, we can work on ourselves, and things will fall into place. And there's something about resilience there as well, isn't there? That, you know, I often say to people if they're in a difficult situation that, you know, you'll look back on this in 6 months and a year's time and go, phew, that was, gosh, I'm really glad I'm out of that. But when people are in the thick of it, you know, that's why they come to coaching, isn't it? Because they feel they can't, they're feeling hopeless or helpless or don't know how to manage that person or whatever it is.
How many sessions do you think someone should do?
Ideally 6 minimum. I mean, we can still make a difference, definitely. But if we
Yeah,
do 6, we're getting the deeper work. So that
yeah.
means the changes are going to be more long lasting. And I tend to work at a level of identity and values and beliefs. And if you
Mm.
work at that level rather than just skills, the changes are easier and more long lasting.
What does that mean if I'm a client? Because that feels a little bit
Yeah.
scary to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it probably does. Well, I do say to them, I'm working with conscious and subconscious patterns. So without sounding woo-woo, and an example I'd give is that, you know, that part of you wants to go over here and is thinking this, whereas another part over here is stopping you. What we're going to do in the coaching sessions is get those parts really integrated so that, you know, like we've all had this, haven't we, in our lives, where you're 100% or 90% you're going to go for this, so that we make sure that internally and also with external people, if it's, you know, like partners or if it's a job promotion, that we can get everyone aligned, but it starts with the individual first.
Mm.
So I hope that doesn't sound too woo-woo, but
Yeah.
it works.
Part of being successful in coaching and working with your coaches, you learn some strategies and techniques. But if you could almost gift a question for people to have as they walk through their life, that's quite a profound coaching question that would help them relate to challenges or scenarios in a different way, what question would be a useful coaching question for people to use?
That's a great question. I'm not sure the answer. I mean, I do that one. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Ask me the question again and I'll see if what else pops up.
Well, the question that I always ask myself is, um, what would be the result if I didn't try it or didn't do it?
Yeah, like the benefits and consequences. So
Yeah.
what's the advantages of doing this and what's the consequences of not doing it? I think that's probably useful for people to think about.
And the question that we have in Thrive that we offer to everybody is what must change?
Yeah,
You
I
know?
like that.
Yeah.
What I love about Thrive is there's, even for the coaches, we can still really learn and grow, and there's lots of opportunities. And you can go in there yourself and go, oh, that's a really neat question. I'm going to start asking that one. So, yes, it's, you know, really appreciate it.
What have you learnt in the 30 years that you've been coaching, Marina, about yourself?
Oh, about myself, that's a great one. I think a lot of it, all of it, and with the clients as well, is to do with emotional intelligence. In other words, how I manage myself, number one. You know, what state of mind am I in? Am I really present? You know, what's going on? So that piece of really, that's what drew me to personal development, because it wasn't about going out fixing people. We all have challenges, me, you, everybody does. It's more about how can I get the best out of myself, because life's challenge is to be the best you possible. And that's what drew me, as well as how can I then share and enable, which is what we're doing. We're not telling, we're not selling, we're enabling people to maximize, without sounding cliche, you know, the best version of themselves, whatever it is, but to really grow and keep growing. So I think out of everything we learn, and obviously I'm going to be biased, working on yourself has got to be number one, and working on having really collaborative relationships goes alongside that, at work, at home, all those things.
What's been your favourite coaching success story?
I've got a couple. Um, the one that she was really stressed. That one, you know, and thought her world was coming to an end completely. And then another one was working with a CEO who was very charming with the public and generally, but was really hard on his team. And he felt that he had to be like that. You know, the old sort of, not hierarchical, but he was he was quite, I'm going to say it, nasty with his team, and thought that would, that I've got to hold their feet to the fire, because if I don't, blah, blah, blah. So it was really working with him to change his style to more of a think win-win approach. How can I get the best out of people? All of that. So they're just like two examples where it had a really significant difference. So for him, for the directors and the organisation itself generally, because there's that great quote, isn't there? The fish rots from the head. If we don't get it right, that's why I tend to work. In Thrive, I work across, and I also work with senior leaders a lot, because if we can get the culture right there and the individuals, it's the individuals, isn't it? That's why we do coaching and then group work. Then the whole, even if they're under a load of pressure, even if the business is really suffering, it's collaborative working, and people are working at their, at a higher level.
What's the best piece of feedback you've ever had?
You changed my life. You changed my life. I've got it on the. You don't want to be all, do you? Because you go, no, you changed your life, but I just enabled. That's the word I like, is you to do that. I helped, at some level. But yeah, I've completely changed my life. I've got the career I want. I've got the partner I want. All those sorts of things. And yeah, and also the culture in the organisation. That's a big one.
What keeps you motivated?
That question came up, and I remember going, oh, it's the making a difference again. Aren't we lucky? I just think, as coaches, and I go, yeah, we create our own luck, but aren't we lucky that we have the opportunity to do this? That's what keeps me motivated, because it makes a huge difference to people. Huge, and the people they interact with. So it's like that ripple effect. So that's what keeps me motivated, and I want to keep learning and developing myself. And that's all part of it, isn't it? We keep working on ourselves in a relaxed, easy way, which is what I say to my clients. Let's do this. Let's make this relaxed and easy as much as we can.
Yeah.
So look, that's the mindset.
You're a lifelong learner, Marina. I wonder what's been the most important piece of advice or coaching that someone's given to you that stayed with you?
Well, this is more of the last few years, because we've had loads, but one of them was worrying. So when I was younger, I had quite a tough childhood, and I would say that what's that? Not anxiety, but you're always making sure you've got everything covered and it's all sorted. I often recommend people to watch Inside Out. There's one in there, the anxiety one. And the guy said to me, a coach said to me, Rena, when you think this, is it helping? Is it helping? And I go, no, because I've thought about it yesterday and today, and I've made notes. Let it go. So if we do mindfulness, we get present, just let it go, like you do with a toddler. And I often say this to our clients, just focus on something else, going over it. So I think that being able to be really present and connected and know things will fall into place despite, the tough things happening, it will. But it's about staying buoyant, isn't it? It's about staying proactive. It's about not overthinking. So that was one. And that you can, what I say to you, what I've been saying here about you can make your dreams come true. People have said that to me. And I've been, can I really? Can I? This was when I was 18, I started on this journey, and I won't tell you how old I am now, but, you sort of, it's just incredible.
Yeah, and I agree. We're very fortunate to be in a place where, we're able to have these incredible conversations day in, day out, and also get a glimpse into how other people see the world for our own strategies for what we do and what we don't do.
Exactly. And I'm very grateful to Thrive, because again, I've got clients all over the world. It's fantastic. I was saying to someone yesterday, I was in Rio, I was in Italy, it's brilliant. So you're learning yourself this whole piece there, about adjusting to the different cultures and the individual you're working with at that time.
It's been lovely talking to you today. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Pam.